There's so much talk out there about carbs being evil and cutting out all carbs that I think a lot of people are losing sight of how good carbs really are for us. And now when I say carbs, I'm not talking about French fries and potato chips and donuts. Yes, those are carbs, but they're unhealthy carbs and they're processed and they have a lot of trans fats and added sugars. There are also carbs out there that are nutrient dense and have a ton of health benefits for us. Plus, contrary to what a lot of people think, carbs actually help you to lose weight, not gain weight, and that's if you're choosing the right ones. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the healthiest carbs to be choosing, why you need them, and all you need to know about healthy carbs. So let's get started. All right, so let me first start by explaining what the heck a carb is. So a carb is short for carbohydrate, and it can be broken up into 3 different types. There's simple carbs, complex carbs, and fiber. So simple carbs are basically sugar, whether or not that's naturally occurring or processed added sugar. So you're gonna find these carbs anywhere from fruits and vegetables and breads to candy and lollipops and ice cream. So whenever you see on a nutrition label something that says added sugars, that's basically meaning added simple carbs. So when we consume simple carbs, we get a sugar spike, they burn up really fast, and then they cause a sugar crash. And oftentimes this leads to craving more simple carbs, more sugar, because we want more energy. So our body really just wants to keep going back to get more of that. It really doesn't sustain itself and you burn out really fast on that. Eating a lot of these simple carbs can definitely lead to weight gain. So complex carbs, on the other hand, take longer to break down. They don't cause that same sugar spike and crash in your body. And they also provide you with a lot of extra nutrients in addition to that simple carb. And complex carbs are very, very good for sustained energy. So they're gonna take a longer time to break down. They're gonna give you a lot of energy for a longer period of time. Now, dietary fiber, the third type of carb, is very similar to our complex carbs in that they take a long time to break down and they provide our body with a lot of nutrients. But dietary fiber doesn't fully break down and get absorbed, so we don't use it for energy. Instead, we use it to help with our digestive system. It adds bulk to what you're removing from your body, and it also helps to make you feel fuller longer. And as you'll see in this video, we're gonna find a lot of complex carbs that have fiber in them, which is basically a really good option for added carbs. So on top of all of what these foods have to offer, the process of actually breaking down complex carbs and dietary fiber means your body's gonna be working harder to do that. And that means you're gonna be burning more calories, requiring more metabolism, and it's gonna help you with weight loss as well. And the combination of complex carbs and fiber is so valuable. So I've put together a list of really good complex carbs that contain dietary fiber and are low in simple carbs. Plus, they're all delicious because enjoying your food is like #1 goal, right? So I've broken down all these healthy carbs into what I consider the 9 best options. #1 is oats. So oats are loaded with complex carbs and dietary fiber, so they get digested slowly, they make you feel full, and you're getting a ton of minerals and vitamins. And because oats also contain 10 grams of protein per half cup, you're definitely getting a good boost of protein as well. So my personal favorites are steel cut oats and rolled oats. Those are gonna be the least processed, steel cut oats being the least processed of both of them. But I have rolled oats often. I just use them just like I would regular oats. You're gonna want to avoid quick cut oats, minute oats, anything that's instant oats, because those have a lot of all the nutrients stripped away from them. And I'll link to several overnight oat recipes that I have where it's so easy, you just get everything ready. You don't even have to cook anything, you just pop it in the fridge, and you have easy to eat, complex carbs, fiber, and protein in your overnight oats for the morning. So I'll link to that below. Next are legumes, and I'm talking lentils, chickpeas, beans, and peas. These are all really helpful and essential for our health and our bellies and our tummies. There have been some studies that show that they actually help to reduce our bad cholesterol levels, which is great. They make us feel fuller longer. They are loaded with minerals and vitamins and extra nutrients. A half cup of cooked beans has about 8 grams of protein, so you're also getting that added protein, which is really great because you can even sub in beans for some meat if you're looking to reduce your meat intake as well. I love baking them. I love adding them to salads. I love just having them as a side. They're just really easy to have cooked, ready to go, and then you just add them to whatever you're cooking. I also have a video on 4 different ways to make Instant Pot black beans, and like there's a refried black bean recipe in there that's not really refried, but it tastes like refried. It's so so good. So I'll link to that for you too. Whole grain wheat and bread is a really good option for complex carbs. Obviously, if you are allergic to gluten and you have issues, you have celiac disease, you wouldn't want to be choosing the bread. But for everybody else, incorporating whole wheat bread into your lifestyle is a very good option. It just adds so much beneficial nutrients to our diet. And I also should mention that whole grain and whole wheat pasta is also a good option. Really what you're looking for is the whole grain, because that means that you're getting all of the pieces of the grain rather than things that have been stripped away. So you're getting the endosperm and all the different nutrients in each grain rather than a bunch of bleached stuff. So that's gonna help you from overeating, it's gonna help you to feel full, and it's also gonna help you to digest your food slower so you have more energy longer, and it's so much goodness. Just be careful when you're picking out breads to make sure it says whole grain on there. It doesn't say enriched or bleached or anything like that. And look out for high fructose corn syrup being added into breads, and have a minimum of 3 grams of fiber per slice as just a basic rule for when you're picking out your breads. Personally, I love Dave's Killer Bread. I love Ezekiel bread. Those are 2 really good options if you can find those. Full fat yogurt and dairy, believe it or not, is another great option for complex carbs. So you probably wouldn't have thought that milk or dairy is something that would have a lot of complex carbs in it, but it's actually a really great option. It has a lot of healthy carbs along with healthy fats and protein. And if you watch my video on is full fat dairy good for weight loss, you already know that having full fat dairy and saturated fat even in your lifestyle is gonna help you lose weight, stay satisfied, and eat less food. So it's definitely going to help as part of a healthy lifestyle. So my personal favorite is whole fat Greek yogurt. I add that to smoothies. I use it instead of sour cream or mayonnaise, and I just have it as a yogurt bowl. There's all sorts of ways to use it so that you can incorporate that into your lifestyle. Rice is another one of my favorite types of complex carbs. It's just a really easy way to add in complex carbs into your diet without having to do a lot of work. Really, you just need to steam it. And then I even cook it in bulk and I have it in the fridge ready to go so that I just scoop out a little bit and add it to my meal as I need it, rather than cooking it every time. So brown rice is gonna give you fiber and magnesium and vitamin B6, and it's really just gonna help fill you up. And so if we're looking for the best option in terms of brown versus white rice, brown rice does have all of the pieces still intact. White rice has a lot of the outer parts of the rice grain stripped away. So having the brown rice is gonna give you more fiber and more nutrients. But I'll have that rice from the fridge and I'll add it into a burrito. I'll have it as a side in a meal. I'll have it just as a snack by itself. It's really good, and it's basically pure carbs with just a little bit of protein in there, which, you know, never hurt anyone. Next up, we have bananas. And now I'm not recommending that we eat fruit constantly all day. I think a lot of people think that fruit is a really good healthy option and they're being healthy so they eat a ton of fruit. The problem, like we discussed earlier with fruit, is that it's also really high in simple sugars, and that can lead to a lot of issues with our blood sugar level. So what I really like about bananas is they're delicious, they're very naturally sweet, so you can add them to smoothies, and it's just a great way to add sweetness instead of adding sugar. And they also are really high in potassium. And potassium is gonna help combat any of the sodium you're eating during the day. It's gonna help you be less bloated, it's gonna reduce inflammation, and it's really just gonna reduce extra water retention. So while I just enjoy a banana by itself, or maybe with a little bit of peanut butter, I also add them to my shakes a lot. And so those are 2 easy ways to get more bananas into your diet. Quinoa is a powerhouse. It's actually a complete protein, which is a really good option for people who don't eat meat, and it's also just a good way to add in more protein into your diet. Quinoa actually has almost double the amount of fiber than most grains. So there are a lot of ways to incorporate quinoa into your lifestyle. You can just have it as a side, as a filler like a rice would be, or you can add it into a rice mix. You can cook it as an oatmeal and kind of have it as a quinoa bowl, which I can link to a recipe for you on a super delicious chocolate quinoa breakfast bowl, which you can try. It's just really easy to incorporate because it's just kind of like rice. You just kind of have to replace that. Believe it or not, potatoes are also a nutrient powerhouse, and a lot like rice, they're easy to prepare in bulk and add to your meal to have essentially a pure carb that is really tasty and filling and takes a while to digest. Potatoes have about 4 grams of protein, 5 grams of dietary fiber, and 25% of the potassium that you need in a day. So just like we were mentioning with bananas, potatoes are a really good option for adding more potassium into your day as well. Potatoes are what you call a slow carb, which means it burns slowly, you have long-lasting energy, and you're also getting that fiber, which is also making you feel fuller longer, and slow carbs are the best. And when I say potatoes, I'm talking about the whole gambit of potatoes. I mean sweet potatoes, potatoes or orange potatoes, red potatoes, Yukon potatoes, white potatoes, russet potatoes. I'm including all of those into this category. The great thing about potatoes is you can cook them in all sorts of different ways as well. You can roast them or steam them or boil them or bake them. I love broccoli as a great complex carb option, so I wanted to add broccoli to this list. Broccoli actually contains a phytonutrient that helps your body fight off fat storage. So it's like a really good option to be including if you're trying to lose body fat percentage. And broccoli is rich in vitamin C, which is actually a nutrient that can help lower your cortisol levels. And the reason why that's important is because higher cortisol levels leads to weight gain. So if we can reduce those cortisol levels, we're gonna help with our efforts at losing weight. Plus, broccoli is high in fiber, which is gonna make it burn slowly, have that sustained energy, and it's going to make us feel fuller longer. And it's very easy to cook. I like to keep it in bulk as well in my fridge, or you can buy it frozen and just reheat it real quickly. It is just, it's hard to mess up cooking broccoli, which is another good one. In addition to having it just cooked and steamed or sauteed in my fridge, I also like to roast it because that brings out a ton of flavor in broccoli. And if that sounds good to you, I totally recommend checking out my video on 4 different ways to roast broccoli, because so easy, you won't even believe how delicious it is, and it's just a really good thing to get those added complex carbs into your daily routine. Next, watch my video on the #1 weight loss question I get asked, and I will see you in the next video.